and this is a reading panel spotlighting secondary characters. They don't get the spotlight by definition, but today we are going to give them a little love. So on this panel, we have Renee Roman, Genevieve Mcclure, Erin Dutton, BK Powell, and Felice Picano. Hi guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey. All right, so I do have an opening question for you all. And that is just very simply, tell us a little bit about your favorite secondary character and why they're your favorite. Why don't we start with Erin?
So I chose a character out of my latest novella, My Secret Valentine. It's in the collection for My Secret Valentine. And I was torn because if you've read the story, there's a stuffed bear that kind of plays a part, and like an actual taxidermy bear. And I was really tempted to make him my favorite character, but actually I'm going to be reading about Brianna, who is a good friend of both of the characters in the stories.
Okay, cool. Renee, how about you? Your favorite secondary character?
Actually, every book that I've written, I have a favorite secondary character, but the one in my February release, Escorted, is someone that I think that everyone can relate to. That one friend that will just be there no matter what, and pull us along when we need that extra nudge.
For sure.
And hopefully that comes through.
I mean, yeah, I hope everyone can relate to that, right? I mean, we all definitely need that kind of friend.
Mm-hmm.
Genevieve, how about you? Your favorite secondary character?
Well, for most of my books, both the lead and love interest are main characters with about equal perspectives. In Cold Blood, the love interest doesn't even show up until almost halfway through the book. So she would, by virtue of being absolutely amazing, and also by virtue of most other characters getting murdered pretty quickly, kind of have to be my favorite secondary character. But she's Dorenia Shaw.
Awesome. That's a great intro for that book. I have to read it, find out what happens. Felice, how about you? Your favorite secondary character?
Okay, so the book I'm reading from is Pursue Lillian's story, and she's telling stories, so she's the narrator. And the secondary character I want to highlight today is her mother-in-law, Lady Bella, the Marchioness of Ravenglass. And by the time Lillian gets married, the Marchioness is an opium addict, barely eats, goes around this big old castle in a wooden wheelchair, mobile wheelchair, and is sort of not always seen, but always heard by everybody in the house because the chair makes so much noise.
Wow, I love that. That's such an intriguing character. I can't wait for your reading. And VK, tell us about your favorite secondary character.
Okay, my favorite secondary character in the book I'll be reading from today, Deadly Secrets, is a young boy named Teddy. And he comes into the story as the next door neighbor of one of my main characters, ex-Delta Force officer, Rafe Silva. And Teddy has a tendency to show a few of the softer sides of Rafe in their interactions.
I like that. It's like every hero needs a puppy, right?
Exactly.
That was a bad analogy, I'm sure. Teddy's not a puppy.
Not a bad lead in either.
Awesome. All right, so this is reading. So we are going to hear about all these amazing secondary characters, and we are going to start with you, VK. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about Deadly Secrets and about Teddy, and start reading whenever you're ready. Everyone else could please stop video and mute. That'd be great.
Okay, so I will be reading from Deadly Secrets today, and it involves my Delta Force officer, Rafe Silva, and the secondary character is Jana Elliott, who is a corporate whistleblower, and Rafe is bodyguard to Jana because she's discovered some things about her company that don't make her really happy. And this particular scene that I'll be reading from, Rafe's next door neighbor, Brenda, and her son, Teddy, come over to ask for help with their missing dog. What's wrong, Brenda? Rafe asked and waved them into the cottage. Bucky, my dog is missing. Teddy sniffled and wiped his nose on his sleeve. When did you last see him? Jana asked. This morning, Brenda said. Bucky was spotted at the boat launch across the lake from here. We've been searching everywhere. Teddy cried harder and Brenda stroked his head. It's okay, baby. We'll find him. She turned to Jana. We only got him 2 days ago, and we're first-time dog owners. I'm worried he'll get hit by a car. As if on cue, Teddy wailed as if his heart was breaking. What if a car does hit him? Jana watched Rafe kneel in front of Teddy and place her hand on his shoulder. Remember how we found your dad's watch? Teddy nodded. We'll fix this too. Her expression softened and she leaned closer and whispered, he's going to be okay. What kind of dog is Bucky? Brenda patted Teddy's head and said, Pomsky, a Siberian Husky and Pomeranian, silver coat with gray splotches. He's a rescue and unfamiliar with the area. Rafe looked up at her. The grounds around the boat launch area are wooded, so bring some meat so we can lure him out. I'm a vegetarian, but I might have a can of sardines. That would probably work better for feral cats, Rafe said. We'll bring something. Give us a few minutes and meet us at the dock. Let's get ready, Brenda said. She rubbed chicken on her arms, stifling gags as she did so, and then dropped pieces of meat along trail number 2 leading into the woods. Would you help me? Teddy grabbed Rafe's hand and looked up at her with watery brown eyes. Rafe's voice cracked when she spoke. Sure. We can take path number 2. Hot dog or bacon? Hot dog. Rafe offered him the torn hot dog pieces and said, can you drop these along our trail about 6 steps apart? Yep. Teddy walked the trail, counting his steps and dropping bits as she'd instructed. Bucky, he called. Come, boy. When he returned, he grabbed Rafe's hand and kicked rocks when she did. Do you have a dog? Her throat tightened. I always wanted one, but I travel a lot and a dog needs a companion. Teddy puffed out his chest. I'm Bucky's companion and he's mine. We go to school. Obedience? Teddy nodded and Rafe asked, is he learning much? Nope, but I am. Smart boy. Rafe ruffled his dark hair. She might have been good with kids before she became jaded by the world. Did Jana like children? A mini Jana with blonde hair and blue eyes, enriching their lives and making everything feel new. What? Wake up, Silva. Time crawled like the seconds before a firefight when the team was primed and certain of imminent attack. But before she could go down that dark tunnel, Teddy tugged her sleeve. Rafe! It's Bucky. At the same time, Jana sounded the alarm whistle once. He's on our path. Let him finish the hot dog and he'll come to you. But before Bucky got close enough, he stopped and snarled at something on the trail. Rafe stepped forward for a better look. A brown snake lay curled on the path near several pieces of hot dog, and Bucky stalked around him and snapped and barked. A snake! Teddy screamed and barreled toward the dog. Bucky, stop! Teddy, no. Rafe caught the boy, scooped him up and hugged him close. It might be venomous. What if it bites Bucky? Teddy squirmed and kicked. Put me down. Look, Rafe pointed. Bucky charged the snake once, darted away and circled behind before leaping again. This time he caught the serpent behind the head and slung it side to side in his mouth before releasing. The snake landed in the woods and slithered away. Did you see that? Teddy asked. Bucky saved us. Rafe lowered Teddy, but held his hand as Bucky finished the hot dog and trotted toward them. He's coming to you, Powell. Teddy held out his arms. My Bucky, good dog. Bucky licked Teddy's face, sniffed his fingers, and ate the remnants of hot dog from his fingers. Brenda whispered to Rafe, thanks for saving Teddy from that snake. I saw what was happening, but couldn't get here fast enough. Bucky is a real hero, Rafe said, and smiled at Teddy as he hugged Bucky.
Yay.
Oh my goodness, I was so glad they found the dog, and then there was even more drama afoot. but it all ends happily. I hope, and I'm sure, and hope that
Yep.
snake is long gone.
Yep, he is indeed.
Good. So quick question for you. Did you plan for Teddy and Bucky when you plotted your book out? Because I know you're a big plotter. Or do your secondary characters just appear as you write as needed?
Strangely enough, I did not plan for Teddy and Bucky when I was planning the story initially. They just came at a time that I needed them. You know, while I plot quite a lot, as you know, I don't always put every intimate detail in there. I sometimes just put a blurb here that says I need this here, or maybe I can plug this in there. And they came along at the right time. So,
Nice.
and I was happy. They're good.
That's a good mix of plotting and then, taking your story where it wants to go, and the characters pop up when you need them to.
You need them. That's right.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up, we have Renee Roman.
Hello,
Hi, Renee. Good to see you.
good to see you.
So you'll be reading from your book, Escorted, but I have a recording from you. So just want to say hi to everyone and let everybody know what's happening.
Sure. So I had some dental surgery this week, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to give you a reading. So that's why Sandy has a recording, but I'll be here for questions afterwards. And I introduced the book on the recording, so I'm not going to say it here.
Perfect. All righty. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. This is Renee Roman with Escorted.
Hi, I'm Renee Roman, and tonight I'll be reading from Escorted, my February release. It's an erotic romance, and one of the main characters is Daniela Brown. In this scene, Danny's best friend, Mark, has agreed to help her figure out who she's attracted to. I had a best friend who would do exactly what Mark was doing, and I think he makes a perfect secondary character. So we're going to do this, right? Danny shoved essentials into her small crossbody bag and tried to calm her tattered nerves. Strung out for the last 4 days in anticipation, she'd gotten little sleep thinking about going with Mark to check out women. Mark cocked a hip. Am I going to have to slap you to calm you down? She laughed nervously. Of course not. I'm just excited. That wasn't entirely true, but it was the best she could do. Her parents' stern tone droned on in her head. Words like disgrace and what would the congregation think constantly reverberated in her head every time she tried to explore who she was. Don't pee yourself before we get there. I should have gotten puppy pads when I offered to be your chauffeur. Leather doesn't do well with bodily fluids are concerned. She stared at him until he stopped looking at his manicured purple nails. I don't want to know how you're an expert on leather and fluids. Mark gave her a sagacious grin. Can we go now? Okay, I'm ready. Danny glanced in the hall mirror and gave herself a once over for the 5th time since Mark's arrival. He shoved her firmly out the door. Whatever's going on in that pretty little head of yours, I need to know so I can run interference if you get in too deep. I'm okay. Parent speak going on is all. Well, stop it. You're an adult living on your own. You can do whatever the fuck you want with whomever you want. He patted her thigh for emphasis. This is why she loved him. I'm so sorry I hid you from my parents. It was wrong of me. The thought was more than sobering. Every once in a while, she relived the days she had to sneak around, knowing if they took one look at Mark in eyeliner and effeminate clothes, they would have grounded her until she was 21, or dead, whichever came first. Mark gazed at her, empathy in his hazel eyes. I know, honey. Not everyone can deal with this much sex appeal, he said, making her laugh. All our classmates knew you folks were as straight-laced and uptight as they came. It took a minute. And in spite of all that, you were still my closest ally. He squeezed her hand. I'm not sure I would have made it through high school without you. Mark's mood rarely became somber, but the shadow of pain that flashed there was one she recognized from her own mirror too often. Now you're going to show me how to meet women, right? Deep down, Danny didn't doubt where her body was heading. All she had to do was get the rest of her on board. Danny shook her head. One drink in and working on a second, and she was exhausted. She didn't want to be rude, but the woman who'd come up to her had been vociferous and cocky, too self-assured and too egotistical for Danny's liking, especially since she was just dipping her toes in the water. Whether women or men, those type of people were a turnoff. Tell me again what you're looking for. Mark was savoring the last of his cocktail before switching to soda. That was part of the problem. Even she didn't know what would make her heart beat faster. This was a bad idea. Girl, we're just getting started. Mark sucked up the last of his whiskey sour and ordered ginger ale with lime. Here's what we're going to do. His eyes sparkled with excitement. I'll point someone out and you tell me what you like or don't like about it. Okay. She motioned the bartender for a refill. 3 o'clock on the dance floor. The woman with the red head and the CFM boots. He gave a discreet nod. She wore faded jeans, an Oxford shirt, and Nike athletic shoes. Her features were soft, and her body matched. She wasn't unattractive, but Danny had no reaction at all. Not even close. So get some help here. Taller, shorter, taller, and lean. Not skinny, but she couldn't muck at the word she was looking for. Carved. A shiver ran down her spine. Yes. Danny closed her eyes. Unlike the romance novels she'd hidden and read as a teenager, the more recent fantasies were all lesbian ones. Handsome, maybe a bit roguish, and sophisticated. When she looked at Mark, he was smiling. Girl, you want a Greek goddess of the androgynous type. She sipped her martini. The pungent aroma of alcohol made her nose wrinkle. Sharp pomegranate tingled on her tongue. I have no idea what you're talking about. The dating sites she cruised were full of women just like her, ordinary, and mostly straight or bi, except for Tinder, from what she could tell. The fantasy women, however, were anything but either of those, and none had descriptions like mock, femme, or similar. That would have made the endless scrolling a lot more efficient. Mark casually glanced around the bar, seeming to take in everyone and everything at once. He had a talent for it. When Danny wished he could teach her. There, at the end of the bar, tall, dark, and luscious, if you like that kind. His eyebrow rose in question as Danny tried to focus. The woman's face was sharp angles with high cheekbones and a strong chin. She was roguishly handsome. Collar-length charcoal hair shone in the overhead cam lights. The color of her eyes was hard to see from where Danny was, but she caught a shimmer of ice blue, bright and dazzling in the light. She wore a suit jacket over a red silk dress shirt, open a couple, 3, buttons to reveal the shadowed curve of her breast. Long fingers wrapped around a bottle of Stella as she chatted up a pretty woman who sat on the stool next to her. She wished she could trade places. Her pulse quickened, her gut tight. And when the woman smiled, her clip jumped. Visions of what the woman would do to her, command of her, demand of her body, made her sway. Whoa, girl, Mark said as he held onto her arm. Bingo! Once you get your shit together, you should go talk to her. She wiped the sweat from her upper lip and reached for a drink, even though her hand shook. What would I say? Mark rolled his eyes. Jesus, you're pathetic. He sucked his beverage through the narrow straw. Let's get horizontal? His eyebrows were drawn together as he thought, you're the woman of my fantasies? Want to make my dreams come true? She snorted and quickly looked around. Do those lines actually work? Danny didn't think a woman like the one she kept glancing at would fall for a cliche come on. Mark shrugged. Works with the guys. He smiled sheepishly. Danny looked over Mark's shoulder and sighed. The woman was leaving her hand at the small of the back of the woman she'd been talking to. Maybe they'd come together, or maybe they'd just met. But either way, fantasy woman was no longer an option. She's leaving, so it doesn't matter. Damn, you gotta stop dragging your feet. When you see what you want, go for it. If only it were that easy. She finished off her drink and let the nice buzz she had buffer her disappointment. Since her prospects looked bleak for the immediate future, Danny turned her attention to Mark. Dance with me? Babe, that's one request I'll never turn down. If only she could be sure the next person she approached would be as willing. Thank you.
Oh, get back here, Renee. I have questions for you.
Where is she? Let me,
Okay, really, puppy pads. I have to ask first. Puppy pads. I can't get past this.
It just seemed like the perfect answer.
And in an erotica novel too. You and I are gonna have to talk.
Okay.
But that was an excellent scene. I need to know where this bar is and how I get there, please.
Where the what?
where the bar is, where
If I find it, you will be the first person that I tell
all
the
right.
location of.
Okay, good. Keep your eye out.
I will.
So same question for you. Do you plan your secondary characters in advance? Did you plan the BFF, or did he just come to you as you're writing?
Mark just came to me. Danny had such conflicting feelings that she needed to talk to somebody. So I created Mark for her.
Perfect. Everybody needs a wingman too. So
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Genevieve Mcclure. Hello, hello.
Hey.
For about the 5th time today. Great to have you back. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Cold Blood and your secondary character, and you can start reading whenever you're ready.
Okay. Cold Blood is a vampiric revenge thriller about a woman whose family was murdered by an American soldier vampire in the Iraq War, and she has been hunting him down for about 18 years. She's gotten to Toronto, where she's tracked him to, and has found out about an information broker, said secondary character, who is Dorenia Shaw, and we come to her introduction, where Kalila has just carved her way through a bunch of vampires, and the last one of them got the drop on her. My machete slips and the kukri drops from my throat. I try another roll and the vampire presses on my knee. I'm going to die to some no-name vampire asshole who doesn't have anything to do with Reynolds. Fuck that. I jerk, trying to shake him off me, and the kukri barely misses my neck. He pulls back and I drop my machete, grabbing his wrist, but I can't stop him. He's going to kill me. Blood wells up from his throat, old and dry, oozing onto me. His head rolls to the side. I gasp for breath, sitting up and looking around as I drop his body off me. The leeches are barely moving, a few synapses still firing or simply causing them to squirm. They're gone, but someone is standing over me. A woman I don't know, wearing a red blouse and a lacy black skirt. She's holding a claymore. Not bad, she says. What are you doing in my warehouse? She sounds like a beetle. I'd expected French Canadian or maybe Russian to live up to the reputation of former Soviets turned black market merchants. I pant, trying to ignore the pain. Right. She fishes in a pocket sewn into her skirt and pulls out a bag of blood. Answers can wait. Twice in one day. I glare at it, but snatch it before she can change her mind. I only drink half. I'm not an animal. I don't have to give in to my worst impulses. I have my leg back. She must have put it where it goes, or else half a pint wouldn't have been enough, and the light scratch is gone. It wasn't that bad. Not like earlier. That's better. He looked like shit a few minutes ago. I glare at her. I just saved a leech's life. She stinks of it, just as surely as these corpses do. I'm Dorenia Shaw. You must be clearly Yassine. I wipe my mouth and stand, looking for my machete. I could reach it, but she has her claymore on her back, and I'm not sure I'd be faster. How do you know that? Well, you're coming to see me because I'm an information broker, so I assume that would go without saying. I have sources. You're new in town and already attracting attention. Or did getting kicked out of the community center within a week of coming to Toronto seem like the sort of thing that wouldn't pique the interest of people whose job is literally to know things? Okay, maybe it was a stupid question, I mutter, picking up my weapons and putting them away. Do you know why I'm here too? She smirks. For a vampire, it's not a bad smile. There's something playful and lively in it that I don't tend to see in the undead. It almost makes me think I could grow to like her, and that makes me hate her. This is what happens when I try playing nice with vampires instead of killing them. I start seeing them as people. I have my assumptions, but why don't you tell me? I do so hate to let anything slip for free. But come, there's no need to do business next to a pile of corpses. I'll get someone to clean that up. She grabs her phone from another pocket and says, yes, I have a mess I need you to take care of, then hangs up and pockets the phone without waiting for a response. She leads me to the back of the warehouse and a set of stairs. On the second floor, she opens a door leading into a room with a carpeted floor, polished wooden furniture, a record player, a minibar right out in the open, and a massive desk with a leather chair behind it and two red plush chairs in front of it. Part of me wonders if they were always red, but it's more of a maroon than what blood would actually dry into. I sit across from her. Now will you tell me? The same smile answers me, her cheeks dimpling. She looks almost human, a bit lighter than me, with dark brown hair and a neat bun over small ears. You still haven't asked. I pull out the old photo. I'm lucky no blood got on it. Where can I find this man? I tap him. She nods, taking it from me and staring at it. I could arrange a meeting, but it'll cost you. I saved your life. That doesn't earn me anything. Did you forget that I saved yours after? And fed you. But I have a reputation to keep, and you expect me to arrange a meeting that you intend to end in bloodshed. Saving me once is hardly enough for that. I don't pretend. You want to kill him. That's as clear as day in your eyes, even if you hadn't been going on about it at a poker game. You saved my life, and I do owe you, but you doing this will cost me quite a lot. I don't have a way to simply show you to him or tell you about him. If it was that easy, I don't think you'd have been searching this long, now would you? I shrug, hating to concede the point. I won't let myself look excited. She'd raised the price, and I can't afford to get my hopes up. I've had too many dead ends to let myself trust that this will go anywhere. He's connected and has been here for quite a while. Had you made better time, perhaps this would be easier, but he's expecting you. So if you want me to ruin my name just so you can get revenge, not only do I expect you to tell me why, but I expect you to make it worth my while. I want to be angry, or at least annoyed, but she has a point. There's no way in the world I can meet Reynolds and not take his head the second I see him. Her name would be on that. How much? Oh, you can't afford me. She chuckles, and it's not as melodic as James, but it has the same playfulness as her smile. I need you to kill someone. That can be payment. Then maybe these assholes will stop coming after me. I'm not a hitman. I'm sorry, let me rephrase. I need you to kill a vampire. I can't keep from smiling. You should have led with that. Then we have a deal. You take care of my problem, and I'll introduce you to yours. She holds out her hand. I stare at it. I've never shaken hands with a vampire before. It feels wrong. I reach out, taking it. Her grip is firm, but her hand is surprisingly soft for dead skin. I nod. Who do you want me to kill?
Yes,
Oh my, with the cliffhanger.
really, very good.
I don't know. I feel like he might have it coming to him though. We might. That's just a guess, but we'll see. Great scene and great secondary character too. I love that. I love that we've had the BFF and we've had the, the almost unwelcome ally. Awesome. So same question for you. For this character, did they just did you plan it in advance? I think probably with your plot, you probably would have had to, right?
Yeah, I definitely had to. She's way too important to the story to not have.
For sure. And I guess, also being the love interest also would be would be relevant too. So
It does help.
it does help to have that in mind when you're when you're writing. All right. So next up we have Felice.
Oops. Get my video on. Oh,
Hello. Welcome back.
thank you. Hello.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about Lillian's story, and you can start reading whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this is a story of 3 generations of Victorian women, and the one who is the narrator is in the middle. Her mother-in-law, who is hated by her son and ignored by her husband, who's never around, is ill in some way, probably mentally ill, and she rushes around this big estate in a wooden wheelchair, mobile wheelchair. And this is what happens one day. The sky tore open with lightning, brightening the rooms about me as though it were midday. Trithers, the butler, stepped into where I sat, near the dying fire, clad in my bedtime wrapper. He apologized and fiddled with his buttons, not daring to look me in the face. I asked what matter it could be at this late hour when all of us ought to be in bed. It's her ladyship. She's not been heard going about in her wooden chair. Let's thank our stars for that, Trithers, although with this pandemonium, how could we know it? Yes, ma'am, only she's not been heard of for gone all day now. She's never done that before, and worse, for Maisie Craig thinks she heard a crash. A crash? This morning or earlier. Maisie thought the crash came from below the servants' upstairs hall. And no one has gone near Lady Bella's rooms of late? I asked, although I already knew the answer. No one but me would risk it. Jardin, mentioning our Swiss Franco-Swiss footman, and myself have thought to go there now in the event the lady acts unusually. We had much hope that you would accompany us. Lady Bella always acts unusually, I said, meaning to be witty. Shall I come to give you a curious exploration, a more official air? Or to help calm her, we've got 2 whale oil lamps for light. I was not in the least bit sleepy, so I belted my wrapper and slipped on my hardier night shoes. Trithers took one of the large round bulb lamps and led our little procession from my wing across the large central hall into the older part of the house. The Swiss followed with a second large oil lamp. Thunder and lightning surrounded the house, the bolts striking nearby, and now I found myself irritated, not frightened. It seemed so much like a scene from some old Tingler, like the Mysteries of Adolfo. Her large, high-ceiling, mostly bare rooms were empty and sparer of furnishings than I recall. Large, echoing, useless, except to house a prematurely aged, often drugged, and supremely unhappy woman. I asked Trithers again where the maid heard the crash. Exactly. And he must go back up to the servants' rooms and walk off, measuring the distance. Left alone with Jardin, I practiced my French. We thought we heard some noise from the great hall, and Jardin went out to investigate. I thought I heard a faint but incessant sound from nearby. I needed to wait until the thunder was sallying itself further away, but I did hear it and followed it to one end of this former dining parlor. It sounded thin, yet distinctly a slap of something metallic upon wood. The panels of this room had been repainted trompe l'oeil in the last century to resemble doors and windows. I suspected one might actually be a door. Behind one, I could hear the tapping again. Lady Bella, I called. My lady, is that you? This door opened inward, but seemed to have an obstacle keeping me from opening it more than an inch. I set the oil lamp down upon the floor and knelt, peering in. I swore I saw cloth and hair. I felt with my hand, and it was hair. I was certain Lady Bella had fled into the closet, hiding from danger, either real or that she had hallucinated, and that once in there she had had an attack. She might have fallen over and now lay unable to move, except to very lightly tap out her distress. I reached into the darkness, felt about, reached her bony shoulder, and gave it as hard as a shove as I dared. It was enough. The door opened, and the lamp revealed the wheeled chair tipped at a severe angle. The lady had fallen onto her front. I felt for her heart pulse at her neck. I could find none. With effort, I drew her body out of the closet, and in so doing, she turned over. In the light of the spermaceti lamp, she was unquestionably dead and quite stiff in her morbidity. Her eyes were half ajar, her mouth closed, her face almost unrecognizable. It seemed so peaceful. I realized that I'd never seen her serene. Dead fingers do not tap, so I looked for her sterling and malachite locket, torn off gold chains. Two ends dangled, broken. I recalled Precita, her pet. I found the locket and wondered if Lady Bella hadn't, with her last bodily strength, torn it off, hoping it would smash open and let her pet free. I held the locket close, and it was unquestionably full of something alive. I'd last seen the Mexican hairy tarantula years ago. What if it attacked me, crawled all over me? Would I leap up and stomp it to death? I held it against my breast, as Lady Bella had done. I sensed the upset creature calming with warmth and heartbeat. I placed the locket on the floor and snapped open the lid. Cressida uncurled herself from the locket and was larger and more astonishing than before. Antennae and palps moving in the air before its high little head and many eyes. She sighted me, turned and went directly to her lady. She leapt onto her head and clambered and tried to settle, but felt no circulating blood, and after a while dropped to the floor and went in circles, bewildered. I could never wear Precita as Lady Bella had, nor keep her as a pet, yet I felt sad for this blameless creature. The wind played with the window sash and night air rushed in. Precita scuttled toward the new sounds and aromas and stopped, puzzled. Though your mistress died, I said, there is no reason why you must follow her in death, as do the widows of the Hindus. You are unique and must live, at least through summer. Who knows if you can abide an English winter? My skin crawled to do it, but I put out one arm, and after a second, Precita leapt onto it and up to my head, where she nestled in my hair. This was the nerve-wracking moment. Carefully, I stood up and walked to the window. I opened the sash more and let the night sounds and airs waft over me, and I hoped also Precita. Where I got the courage, I cannot say, but I lifted my hand to my hair and felt for her. Rather than her biting me, she stepped onto my hand. As I'd hoped, I held her out before me so that we might look at each other once more, eye to eyes. Then I reached over to a branch of a bush. She put a tentative foot upon it from the security of my fingers, then another, and in an instant she was gone, her whiteness but a blur in the upper twigs. Jordan and Trithers arrived together into the room. I searched the foliage for Precita, but could no longer see her, and so I turned away and shut the window. Your lady is there, said I, pointing to the heap of body and clothing upon the floor. Thinking of her pain and suffering, her fears and terrors, my voice broke. She has finally chaired herself to heaven. Look at her face if you do not believe me.
Wow. Holy moly. That was unexpected.
Good.
Yeah, wow. I have to read this book. This is going
There
away.
are many strange and intense scenes in it.
So this almost sounds like a horror novel from the part that you read. So why don't you contextualize it for us a little bit? Because I know it's a crime mystery novel set in the past.
Right. It's the story of a woman's marriage that began as a golden, wonderful thing and slowly but surely went bad in a very unusual manner. And what this young woman has to do to save herself, her reputation, and eventually even her life from her husband. who at that point has become the second most powerful man in England. And so it takes some doing.
So where does, is it Lady Bella? Is that right? Lady Bella
Lady
and,
Bella was the mother-in-law,
okay.
and her name is Lillian. And at the death, she becomes the Marchioness of this big estate, this vast estate in northwestern England called Ravenglass.
Cool. And so, and how does the tarantula play in? It seems like it has almost a magical quality.
Yes. When she first met the lady as a little girl, she saw that the lady wore a big locket on her chest. And to test her, the Lady Bella opened it up and it came out. And she didn't run away from it. She was an educated girl because her parents wanted her to be. And she even went to college for several years after that. And that's partly what helps her in her life, being educated. But Lady Bella keeps Cressida, which is Precious, the little tarantula there. And it comes out and catches flies and eats things. And we have to assume that Lady Bella gets some strange pleasure from the animal.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Awesome reading. Next up, we have Erin Dutton. All right, Erin, I want you to promise me there's no spiders, right?
Well, I mean, you really want me to follow that?
You can do
No.
it. Give me some romance.
No spiders at all.
Awesome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your collection and start reading?
Okay, so Taking a Risk is my novella in this collection. And the character I'm going to be reading about is Brianna. And Brianna is one of the few people in the book who kind of touches every part of the story. She is friends with Kayla, who is our main character who lives in this town. And Kayla's a widow, and her wife Macy was also a good friend of Brianna's and a fellow police officer with Brianna. And when our new character Jo is introduced, she is paired up with Brianna. So Brianna kind of has this like all-knowing kind of thing going on. But this scene is between Brianna and Kayla while I'm sorry, it's between Brianna and Kayla, and Kayla is having to have a difficult conversation with her. So Kayla saw Brianna's SUV backed into a spot in front of Beans to Brew, so she pulled into the empty space next to it, her driver's window lined up with Brianna's. Hi, Kayla rested her arm on the door sill. Hey, Brianna looked over her shoulder toward the coffee shop. Are you going in to get something? No, Kayla shook her head, then realized she didn't have any other logical reason for parking here. I just saw you sitting here and thought we could chat for a few. Okay. Brianna paused, but Kayla didn't go on. About anything in particular? Yes. Well, no, not really. I just closed up the shop and was driving and you had coffee. What? Now she sounded like an idiot. The confidence she'd found in the store earlier had fled, and she didn't know how to start this conversation. Brianna nodded toward the park across the street. Do you want to take a walk? Yes. Maybe some motion would propel her thoughts as it did her body. She waited until Brianna got out and moved aside before opening her own door. As they strolled across the street, side by side, she zipped her coat. The day had been overcast, never warming above 50, and evening had dropped it into the 40s, so they had the park to themselves. What's going on? You're acting weird. Brianna paused and turned toward her, but Kayla waved her on, indicating they should keep walking. She didn't want to have this conversation face to face. I've been thinking about dating again. When Brianna didn't respond right away, she fought the urge to fill the silence. Why didn't you want to tell me that? This time, when Brianna stopped, Kayla turned to face her. Macy was your best friend. I can see how you might not be comfortable with me seeing someone else. Hell, I'm only just realizing that I'm good with it. You think it might be time? Brianna didn't seem on board with the plan. After Macy died, I was so lonely. For her, I missed everything about our time together, But lately, my loneliness is also about wanting someone there to have a partner in life. That makes sense. Brianna's expression softened a little, but the idea did clearly still bother her. Macy would want you to be happy. I know it's hard to think about, and I'm sure it will feel strange at first, but it's been 4 years. I have to at least give it a shot. Or you could forever be known as the town widow. Brianna smiled. Are you considering anyone in particular, or is this just a general conversation about your readiness? Kayla's face grew hot. Telling Macy's best friend that she might want to date again was one thing, but letting on that she was interested in the new woman on the force was another entirely. I'm not sure. This revelation does seem to coincide with the arrival of another out available lesbian in a town with not too many of those. Judy Finster is bi. Kayla threw the possibility out as a defense, but knew it was limp at best. Brianna wasn't biphobic, and even the implication was rude. You are correct. I didn't mean to limit you to only lesbians, but unless you know something I don't, Judy Finster is also happily married. Hence, she does not meet the available part of the criteria. Kayla nodded. This is hard for me to talk to you about. It's not a picnic for me either, friend. Somehow, Brianna's sarcasm softened the words. She turned away and sat on a park bench. Tilting her head back, she met Kayla's eyes. I told you the other day, Joe's a good person. If you're into her, you should give it a shot. You also warned her away from me? Well, that's when I thought you wouldn't be interested, especially not in dating another police officer. I admit I'm not thrilled about that part. Logically, I know what the odds are of something bad happening, but my heart is hesitant. Macy faced those same odds, and look what I went through. Then why her? She shrugged. I like her. A simple response, but she didn't feel obligated for anything more complex. That's where you start. Brianna stood and rested a hand on Kayla's shoulder. Maybe you'll find she has some annoying habit you can't stand, and you'll have stressed over this for nothing. Kayla smiled. I'm concerned that you really do want me to be the town widow.
Wow.
It's gonna happen. And oh, that was really sweet. All right, I think my heart has maybe stopped racing from the tarantula. So thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So same question for you. For your secondary characters, do you plan them in advance or do they just show up when you write?
For this story, yeah, Brianna was kind of planned in advance because I needed, I wanted there to be kind of this other layer of Macy feeling like she might be betraying her wife, and so yeah, she was definitely planned. It's not always the case. It varies depending on the story and how much I actually have to start with when I first start writing.
I was gonna say it's really funny because the plotter VK totally winged the secondary character, and you're a pantster and planned it in advance. So
yeah, I don't get me wrong, I wing quite a few of them, but this one was planned.
yeah, awesome. All right, if everyone can jump back on. And I brought you all back just to kick you off because we are out of time. Thank you to Erin, to Genevieve, to Renee, to VK, and to Felice. These are amazing readings. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Sandy.